Well, it's very, very difficult to fight a parliamentary election as an independent because of the humongous size of a constituency. There are almost 15 lakh 90,000 voters in this constituency which I chose, which was the Mumbai Northeast. And it's a very sprawling constituency, very densely populated. And as an independent candidate, you get about 15 days time to do everything.
In this last election, 2nd of April was the day when the forms were started to be issued.
There's a very elaborate process for making the affidavit and things like that. So I could only get my affidavit done by the 8th, and that's when I decided to file the nomination. A party candidate can do it with only one proposer. He just needs one proposer, whereas an independent needs 10 proposers from the same constituency. And each proposer, you have to give their electoral ID card and check once whether it is appearing in the official rolls, because if even one proposer's ID is not valid, then your nomination gets rejected. In fact, one of the independent candidates got his nomination rejected for that, and he threatened to go to the court. I don't know what happened after that. In my case, of course, you took great pains to make sure that all the 10 proposers, you checked personally each one of them, and so we didn't have an issue. And then 9th was the last date for filing nominations.
10th was the day of scrutiny of the forms.
And of course, everything went through without any glitch in that. See, the affidavits are not cross-checked. Your opponents or anybody from the public can go and cross-check your affidavit, and if there is something wrong there, you can go to court. Now, the affidavit has to be complete in all respects. That's all the Election Commission says. Not a single row or column should be left blank. If there is nothing, you should say not applicable or not known or something like that, or nil. But then you can't leave it blank. But the contents, the Election Commission is not bothered with it. If there is something, you have to go to court. But you can't expect the Election Commission to go into the contents of each affidavit. There's no time for that. So that's perfectly okay, I think. If somebody has a problem with the affidavit, they will do their investigative journalism and then get to the root of it. And you can even get the candidature cancelled after you have got elected. So there's no problem with that. There are instances where people have done that and somebody has got this thing cancelled after he's become an MP. So that's fair. That's okay.
12th was the day of withdrawal of the forms, last day of withdrawal of the forms.
And once the cut-off time of 3 o'clock or so of withdrawal of nominations was over, then there was a meeting where the symbols would be allocated. So as an independent, I only got my symbol late evening on the 12th.
So after you get the symbols, then the list is declared, and thereafter you have to do all your pamphlets and what kind of messages you are planning to send or create awareness among the voters, etc. So all those were planned after that. My experience as a person who have been involved in getting permissions, there were few changes that the Election Commission had carried out. In our case, Northeast Mumbai, we were given certain forms, like applying for Padyatra, there is a form. Creating your offices, there is a different form. Now, in that table, there is very little space to fill. If a candidate wants to fill in English, they will say, no, don't fill in English, you fill in Marathi. Because their clerks or whoever sit doesn't understand English, they want us to fill it in Marathi. Now, if you fill it in hand with your handwriting, they say, no, you try and bring it in typed form so that it becomes legible and they can read. So all kind of hurdles are there.
When the election is on the 29th, the campaigning ends on 27th evening. So we just had 15 days to convey our message to the masses, which I feel is extremely unfair, because
they already have their great infrastructure, because their national parties, big setup, big office, back office, call centers, with all the infrastructure. The candidate of the national party or the recognized party has enough time to canvass compared to an independent or an unrecognized party.
And India being the largely illiterate country that it is, you can be anybody, not a single person in your constituency needs to know you, but they know your symbol and they would blindly go and vote for that symbol. Whereas for an independent like me, extremely difficult task of conveying your symbol to 15 lakh 90,000 voters and making sure that they recollect your symbol on the day of the election. Because it gets confusing. There are 27 candidates in this constituency and there are 27 different symbols. So even if they remember your name, to remember your symbol would be difficult. If they remember a symbol, remember your name would be difficult. So you have to again and again drive home the message of your name versus the symbol to the electorate. So that's the big challenge.
They did say that they have a single window permission. The kind of procedures they had laid down was a little cumbersome. You apply here at a single window for permission, for make payments you have to go the other side. Then the RTO will go, then the fire people will go, everybody will go and take permission, then they come back. It takes almost 2 days minimum. When you talk about pamphlets, they will say there is annexure A, annexure B, then we have to give 2 CDs, then 2 manuscripts. When we had a few words like, note leke vote mat diya karo karke. That is a greater message which even the election commission do circulate, and they in some of their advertisements. And if some such wordings are used, they remove it, you remove it, bring a fresh CD, edit and bring a fresh manuscript. So there were a lot of hurdles. Whereas for the candidates from the national party who had their symbols well in advance, could do all this kind of permissions well in advance. Some reform has to be done so that all the candidates are at par. Now if we suggest something, election commission will say, or the other political parties who are recognized parties or nationalist parties would say that no, if you don't have that set up, that kind of infrastructure, don't contest. There are learned people, there are good people who are capable people who can actually represent the voters and the citizens of that constituency. But unfortunately, they may not be rich, they may not be having that kind of infrastructure or manpower or that kind of money that is required to be spent. Now what happens is, a poor fellow who has some feeling for the voters, so that doesn't mean that he is not a capable candidate. If money is the criteria, then it is totally wrong. Then it is not democracy.